Hi everyone. Today I am going to be doing something a little bit different. I am going to be installing everything I need to mount my Garmin Zumo XT to my Ninja 1000. And the reason why this is going to be a little bit different is because this is not a standard install. This is very much going to play into how you want to install it, what mounting brackets you're going to get, how you're going to wire it, and everything. So this is really how I'm doing it. So I'm not really going to go as in-depth as I normally do. However, please ask any questions, or if you need any ideas on how to do something, please ask. I have no problem answering questions. And if you're wondering how I am going to mount it, I'm going to be using this little bracket that I got from, believe it or not, AliExpress. Now, AliExpress is not a site I like to shop at. I don't trust any of their merchandise. Like if you buy a helmet on there, chances are it's a knockoff. For a simple metal bracket that all it has to do is be sturdy, it's actually perfect. And I will have links for everything in the description below. So I'm going to be using this to mount it. For powering, this is a 4-port 12-volt accessory fuse box. So I'm going to be wiring it into this, and I'm going to be wiring this to the main battery. But what I love about this is it has a built-in relay, because the GPS always on is going to drain your battery. You can run it directly to your battery if you'd like. That's up to you. This is going to be very specific to how you're going to install. So different people will be doing different things. This I got from Moto Pumps. This is a special bracket attachment, I guess you could call it, for your Zumo XT, or I think any of the Garmin's. So what this does is people can't push the button down to release the GPS to take it. They have to use one of these special keys to remove this bolt here, and then you can push the button to release your GPS. So I am going to be installing this as well. Now with this bracket, I'm going to need, I need to protect my windscreen. And I have these rubber washers. I'm going to have a link to these, but you may want to find something a little smaller. These are kind of big, but they will still pad the bracket against the windscreen. And the idea is so it doesn't mess up the windscreen with the vibrations and whatnot. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this is the mounting bracket for the AliExpress mount. Now, I'm going to quickly go over to the motorcycle and determine which direction this is going to go. Okay, so I think it's going to go with this as the top. I mean, there's no instructions or any indication, so it's basically going to be a trial and error. So if this is the top, this is the top. First thing we need to do is pull out our power, and comes with these very, I don't know if you can see it, very tiny screws. It does come with a screwdriver, and a tiny screw goes into the back here. Now we need to take this and feed it through. So take the cap off, and you're just gonna feed it through and flip it up and get it pushed into position. Now the cap, when you're not using it, will go on like that. So we're going to go ahead and put this tiny screw in here now. Go ahead and put the cap on while you do this. That will make sure no dust or anything gets in there. Okay, so we're going to take this tiny screw and put it in. Okay. That's done. Okay, so now you're going to want to open up your hardware. Go ahead and put the washers on the bolts. And then take these pieces, and they go in the back here. And they just push in. And then you're going to take, if you got one of these, this goes on next. Line up the holes. And then you'll put it on the bracket. Try and line up the slots and go ahead and feed the bolts through. Now these nuts are 9/32, and of course these are Phillips head. So what you're going to do is try and start the nuts, that way none of the bolts fall out. Take your 9/32 socket and your Phillips head screwdriver and go ahead and tighten them all down. So now that this is done, you're going to take your hardware from the AliExpress bag. And the fun thing about that is the only thing with nuts are the black bolts. So we're going to assume those are what we mount this with. I have no idea what all the other bolts are for. I need to remove the windscreen. Now, I have a video on how to do this. It is not necessary to watch that video, because all it is just removing these 4 bolts and not losing them. And all you need for that is a 4mm hex socket. There we go. Now, if you set your windscreen down anywhere, make sure it's on a surface that it's not going to get scratched. Okay, so now with the windscreen off, we need to remove this piece. And this is so we can run the wiring cleanly. So you want to pop these 2 tabs out by pushing the middles in, and then you just pull them out. Then you want to take your 4mm hex socket, and there's on each side, there's a bolt that you want to remove. And then up front, on each side, there's a bolt you need to remove. And this just slides off. Now all we are going to do here, and this opening is where the wire is going to go through. So we're going to take our mount, we're going to undo the little twist tie, and basically we're going to find a path through here that will go under and allow us to run it on the middle fairing. Now what you probably want to do is move your windscreen up and down. So you'll see there's an opening here, which is, it's not going to get hit. But you want to make sure when you run the wires that it isn't going to be in the way of this bar. So make note that the lever turns this piece too. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to run it over the bar and down to the right over here and just pull it through for now. And the tricky part will be the converter. But once you get that through, you just pull the wire through. Try and untwist it as best as possible. And then you're going to want to get some zip ties. And you're going to want to find the best place to zip tie the wire to secure it. Now, I'm not going to really videotape that too much because that's going to be really hard to try and get in there with my hands in there. But I'm thinking I'm actually going to go on the bar because that shouldn't really hit anything. And then I'll be able to zip tie the rest of the way once I remove the middle fairing. Now, once you have the zip tie on, you don't want to make it too tight. You want it to be somewhat tight, but you're going to need to be able to pull through the excess once you have everything on here. And since everything is going to be closed up, then go ahead and clip it off Make sure you don't clip the wire. And we're gonna go ahead and put this back together. Putting it back together, it's the same process as taking it off. You're simply just gonna slide this into place. Your wire is nice and neatly run through here. You may want to check, make sure your wire isn't gonna catch on anything, and then go ahead and fasten this down. Now, if you haven't used these things before, you just pop the middle back up so it sticks out. Make sure everything's lined up, pop it in, and you push the middle in. That locks it in place. Then we have the 2 bolts up front. Make sure they have their plastic washers. And you have the 2 bolts up here. Now you want to take your windscreen and you're going to put the washers on the windscreen and then set this on top. I found that's the easiest way. And then just hold each side firmly so the washers don't fall out. Place it back on and bolt it down. Okay, now we are going to hook the mount up. Okay, now I do recommend if you put that bracket on with the keyed opening, just because it's going to make things easier for you, just take it out now. That way you can mount the unit on, but you don't have to unscrew it while it's mounted. I mean, it's not that hard, it's just, it'll make things easier for you now. So all you do is just unscrew it, slide it out, and then you can push the button. So you're going to take the black bolts you got from AliExpress. You're going to need an 8mm wrench or a socket if you have an extra, and a 3mm hex socket. And you are going to mount this up. Now, again, I don't know how this is going to fit. It's trial and error. So I might end up having to take the bracket off. We will see. If you want this over the bracket, you're going to have to undo the cable and run it over. I am not certain if I want it run over or the way it is. Now, again, you left the zip tie somewhat loose so you can feed the cable down. And the way I have it, it's going to go in this top hole. And we're going to hope that I can move my windscreen and not have an issue. It's actually going to be easier if you raise your windscreen at this point. But go ahead and take your bolt and nut. Try and get this in a position to stay put. All right, so bolt, nut, and we're just going to feed it in and try and get the nut on. Hopefully without dropping it. Okay, so we've got that one started. We're going to go ahead and get the other one on here. All right, so now before I actually fasten this down, I'm going to grab my Garmin and we're going to make sure that this fits. Remove the safety cap. Okay, so that looks good with the windscreen up. The windscreen down, not so much. I mean, it works, but I won't be able to see my display very well, I don't think. Oh, maybe I will. It should work. I just may not be able to ride with the windscreen all the way down. Alright, so that's the way it's going to be. Again, you could play around, find what best suits you. I'm going to go ahead and put this dust cover back on that so conveniently floated all the way down here. All right, and then you're going to take your 8mm wrench and your 3mm hex socket and wiggle your wrench in and try and protect your windscreen. Tighten it down. Okay, so now that that's done, it is moving on to wiring. For that, we are going to need to remove the middle fairing. I have a video for that, so if you need to, go ahead and watch it. It's pretty simple. And then we're going to continue with the wiring after that's removed. Okay, so we have the middle fairing off. You're going to need zip ties, and you're going to want to take the wire, run it under the plastic piece, and you want to zip tie it out of the way. And you're not going to be able to see anything here. I apologize for that, but there's really not much I can do about it. But you want to zip tie it out of the way so that nothing gets hit while you're steering. So I'm just going to find a good point to zip tie to. I think I'm going to zip tie right to this cable here. And I actually have a couple other cables with my underglow and everything. I'm just going to zip tie it up so it holds in place and out of the way. Now I have my windscreen fully extended, so I don't have to worry about it pulling extra wire up. So I can make it relatively tight. And then you're going to want to run it up to in front of the gas tank. Again, zip tie it. I have these other cables here that are run through a hole in my frame. Okay, now I'm going to readjust the camera. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the wire down the side cover here. And if you ever go to take your side cover off, or your tank, or whatnot, you can actually run this in even better. And I just get it to fall down there, then I have it run up front. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it through those off of the gas tank. Then under this front bracket. And then just find a place to tuck the converter box, which I'm just going to put under the tank. And I don't know if I'm going to zip tie it. I'll figure that out. You do what you want to do. And then, now they already have the soldered ends here, but I don't want the excess wire. And I have my switched fuse box here, which I have another video for when I did that, which I will put up above. But I'm just going to shorten these wires. Leave a little extra. Strip them. You don't need to strip much. Twist them. This helps make sure the wires don't push back while you slide it in. Loosen the screws in my fuse box. Black to negative. Red to positive. There we go. Now, if you don't have this and you were just going to run it right to the battery, you would run it into the battery. So let's go ahead and try this out. Remove the protective cover. Snap it on. We're going to power it on, and my GPS should power on. Now, I know I have the screen, the thing on here. I have a screen protector coming. That's why I haven't taken it off yet. But there you go. It's powered on. We can lower it down. Now, the bracket is preventing me from lowering my windscreen all the way to the lowest notch, but I can still see the display. Looks like it works good. And if I turn the bike off, the GPS will turn off, so it doesn't drain your battery. So that's all there is to it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Now all you have to do is put your middle fairing back on and your seat. You should be good to go. Stay safe out there. Keep the rubber side down. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I will try and answer everyone's questions as soon as possible. If there's anything you would like to see, any tips, tricks, techniques, anything at all motorcycle related, please let me know. I do these videos for you, so anything that you would like to see, I am more than happy to do it. If you like this video, please click that thumbs up button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and click the bell to notify you whenever a new video drops. Thank you again. Ride safe and keep the rubber side down.